Well, if we let you know anything today and it sticks with you for the rest of your life, I want it to be that this ain't no sugar-coated love. All right, now we can start the desk for our third set of the day. Nick, you seem to enjoy that one.
Yeah, that was funny. That was good.
Hey, we always hear that song. I mean, it's.
I don't think I pay attention to the songs as deeply as you do, though.
I'm very auditory. All of these songs have the ability to get me going or turn me off immediately. So, a little hint about how to make or break Rain Day's vibe. Let's talk a little bit about these upcoming sets, though. First off, just to recap, amazing performance by Armada, right?
Yeah, you got to say they're looking like the complete package there. They've got their substitute players performing well. Everything looking strong for them. Ovum on both supports as well. That was something that we were kind of curious about going into that set.
Yeah.
He hadn't been forced off the Ying. Still look good on the Damba.
Well, it is time to turn our attention to Big Egos versus Sanguine, and that is the matchup that will be coming up. Of course, these matchups now, our first two were winners bracket matchups. Now we are in the relegations, part of the tournament where these teams, if they do not progress now, will be going home. A lot of stakes raising here in the second half of the day, so make sure you're watching and make sure you don't go anywhere. First about Big Egos, though. I want to talk about them because Big Egos have had a lot of ups and downs, seen with a lot of talent, Edgem particularly, but they just couldn't get it done today against SSG.
Yeah, I mean, this is kind of like the PGS run back, though. This is going to be a little bit different in the way that last set, or we thought was going to be different, where a team knows each other inside and out, or at least they should. Sadak mentioned that, there's only so much we kind of know. There's only so much we can gain about playing these EU teams. When it's a team that you scrim a lot, and there's no ping involved in these two boys, so they go at each other head-to-head, in and out in those PGS games. So
right.
That's one that I think is going to make this very, very interesting. There's not going to be any fast ones pulled, and the things that these teams aren't prepared for when you have these younger guys, these PGS squads, that's the type of stuff they don't bounce back as well from because they just haven't had the experience to know how to adapt.
Who do you think does better bouncing back from a loss? And particularly the fact that Sanguine lost a day or two ago and the Big Egos lost today, does that help or hurt Sanguine?
Man, that's a good question. That is a really good question. It's tough. I think it rides mostly just on the players, like how highly they're feeling or how good they're feeling about that match in particular. Like Edgem, right? He's talking about the easy claps against Space Station. If they truly, truly in their heart of hearts believed that, then they will probably, have a tough time going into this one. If they didn't necessarily believe they were going to beat SSG, that's where I believe they could bounce back.
Well, let's see what Sanguine has to say. We've actually got a moment to talk to the coach, Jake, which Kresnik gave all the drafting compliments to yesterday. So let's go ahead with Gore down on the floor to hear what he has to say.
All right, well, we're here ready with Jake and Sanguine are prepping up for their game. And I'm just kind of curious, how are you guys feeling going into this set?
We're pretty confident. We'll just have a rerun of PGS, I think.
This is something that we haven't gotten to see a lot of. We're having a PGS versus PGS matchup. You guys have unfortunately found yourselves towards the bottom end of the bracket, but do you feel pretty confident in your ability to continue moving forward, or do you think Big Egos is going to bring maybe something fresh to the table?
Absolutely. We scrim these guys a ton. We know them inside out. This should be easy for us.
Earlier when you were watching their set, did you see anything that kind of caught you off guard? They didn't really come out, I think, as strong as a lot of people were expecting them to.
I agree with that. I don't know. I expected SSG to win. Honestly, they're really talented players.
Looking forward for your bracket, if you are able to win this game, you'd go up against SK, potentially, or going up against another PGS opponent, Sour Team. Do you think anything that you have here would maybe help prepare you for that, or do you think that this is going to be kind of the set that your eyes should only be on?
We've been mostly focusing on this set, but we scrimmed SK a lot, so we should be fine.
So just to make sure, you're feeling pretty confident?
Yeah, absolutely. We got this.
All right, well, that's going to be what Sanguine are feeling right now. It's all calm in this room. No one is stressing out. No one's on edge. So let's go ahead and throw it back to the desk and get ready for the first game.
Except maybe Edgem, right?
I knew that was coming.
It was
I knew
pretty,
Vox would have done that.
Vox would have done it.
But not you.
But not you.
You too.
You've gone to the dark side, mate. Unbelievable. I don't know what voice this is, but we're sticking with it for this bit that ends now. Map selection on your screen. Bright Marsh, Sanguine's pick. Interesting here. It looks the way they're organizing that Big Egos. It might just be the way the logos are, but Big Egos have first pick here, which would mean Sanguine defaulted to second pick.
We'll have to see once we get into the draft, and there is a lot of the history in this matchup. Sanguine, Used to be Buh, if I'm remembering that correctly, if you remember them from
Or
the
B.
PGS.
That might have been the biggest troll of the PGS history right there.
Maybe. But I'm seeing, I'm just getting like kind of envy vibes, right? Where you've got a lot of guys that care a lot about the draft and the strategy. They want to do all the little things right going into this matchup. Sanguine feels very prepared, and to bring up your point again of, is this going to hurt or help Big Egos, the fact that they have already lost a game today? When you're going up against a hyper preparedness team like this Sanguine roster appears to be,
Right.
I just kind of want to keep stacking the chips in their favor because they already got to watch one matchup today. They got to see what was working for their opponents, what maybe necessarily wasn't working for them, and I think it just looks more and more like an advantage.
And I think the thought I have coming into this is that Sanguine are primed to win this set. Not only because they looked better in PGS for the majority of the season, but because they've been working all year long for this moment right here. I mean, they were in Vegas, a lot of these guys. Bega Wow wasn't on the team. Then Niu was a part of that roster that took a game off of SK. And we said at that moment that, whoa, they look good. That was played offline, but they look good. And I just feel like, you know, despite Big Egos having a lot of momentum, it feels like a little bit more of the story is with Sanguine. But William355, he's been in this for a while, even since Purity.
I tend to agree that it feels like things might be going towards a little bit Sanguine. It all comes down to the bounce back ability, the word that is intangible, and that's the property.
Beautiful.
It has to be there for Big Egos. They don't look super defeated, and again, I think it comes down a lot to they were talking some smoke about SSG, but unless they truly believed that and they expected to win that matchup, I don't think, and Sanguine didn't think either, that's worth noting, that they were going to be able to take down SSG. They should be okay mentally.
I mean, that's the thing. In text, you know, sometimes you can't read the sarcasm. In words, you can. The tonality lets you know, but sometimes the way your humor comes off is different. A lot of people have more dark humor, and I don't know if that was just Edgem realizing that, hey, we're being self-incriminating here. Easy clap against the team we think is going to take top 4. Of course not. Of course not an easy clap, but I'll just say it. And maybe he just really thought it would be. Certainly wasn't. They lost 2-0 and now here are facing defeat as the Torvald Drogos and then Ashen and Nara bands come out respectively.
I like seeing the Nara bands. I talked a little bit about this in the set prior, but it's something that just flies under the radar, man. It's crazy to me that we don't see an Nara band out a little bit more often. Khan will make it through as a result of that. Makoa is still on the board, so it's worth noting that with a lot of things open, a lot of big boys open, Sanguine are going to go to the Primus.
And that is important. How Psycho represent. Woo woo. Big Egos here have 2 picks that are important. We've seen the tone change more towards Ying in the earlier kind of 1, 2, 3, 4 draft spots here as far as back-to-back, but I wonder if North America's going to catch on to that. She's got such a good win rate. You would say that statistically now you have to kind of go with it.
Pretty good win rates here. Stats all across the board. Andro will come through fairly early on, and he sure does love their Androxus. These 2 guys, these 2 teams, back and forth in the PGS they would go. Who's more prepared for this matchup here in today? Envy gave us a little insight into his role on this team. He's not a super shot caller, and there apparently is a lot of those draft masters in the background, but he just likes to offer up his opinion. He's a veteran guy. He's played in the PPL, not very successfully.
Right.
He makes sure that they are looking at things from every angle.
In this game,
it's a really good draft for Big Ego so far because Makoa is fantastic for William. Andro is great for Edgem, but it also takes it away from Envy, like we were just mentioning. Very comfortable pick on Serpent Beach in general as a champion, but for Envy specifically, a lot of moments where he's had success. Forces Sanguine into the Leon and the Fernando, and now Big Ego is their chance to respond.
Ooh. So with the Ying left open there, they will go for the Meldombo. That's something we've started to pay attention to, really. The supports aren't the highest priority thing, but it's certainly worth noting when one left open who they prefer. Willow comes through, but there's already a decent hit scan threat on the board for Sanguine. We've seen a couple of teams go for the real, 3-hit scan by the way of Ruckus as well, but already the front line's locked in. Zulu's got the main down today. And that is certainly a scary-looking man sitting across from you.
Absolutely. And Ying picked up last with that 75% win rate. I wonder if that's going to be upset today. Big Egos have what I feel is a perfect draft for the players. And you really could see William flexing onto the Ruckus or the Makoa here. But I look at EU on Willow, and I look at Edgem on Andro, and I don't know a lot of champions they'd rather be on in this matchup, in this set, in game 1. And that's what's about to begin now. We have the third set of the day, and this time somebody's going home if they don't get the W. It's Sanguine, it's Big Egos. Let's send it to your casters, Gore and Vox.
All right, well, welcome everyone to the North American Paladins Global Series. Except it's not quite. It is pretty much the Paladins Global
Series.
Series.
For my first ever PGS cast. It is an absolute honor. Got a very great day going on here, haven't we, Gore?
I mean, it is going to be the #1 seed and the #2 seed from North America. It is still the qualifiers, but it is exactly a matchup we have seen actually countless times over the last few months. And again, like Sanguine had said, they scrim these guys. They play these guys constantly. They're always in competition against these guys. Like, this is a matchup where you know your opponent better than you might know some of your teammates at this point because you just see each other all the time.
So that's a bit of a tall order, folks, but the tallest one in the room on this one. Let's take a look at the talents coming through as we break down. Start off with Sanguine. Big Ego Cassie, that's been a bit of a standout pick so far today. Hasn't seen a great deal of success, right? But Big Ego Cassie is what people are starting to trend towards. You know, I'm really surprised by the early Maldamba prioritization.
Here's my question for you.
Yes.
How do you feel about Ying going out so low in the draft?
Well, because Maldamba went early, there's no need of picking early, right? Like, that's normally the priority pick that we see coming through. It's Ying first, then Maldamba as a neutral pick in response, leaving your secondary DPS to come on through. But Sanguine take first blood here. Neo on the high ground, not finding much pressure as Willow there.
Bagel just being able to sit on the side. Leon, Cassie, a deadly combo that has been coming through. Nice long-range fight as well, so they don't have to worry about too much, especially fighting from where they are, except the 15% Big Egos has been hanging around. William355 is the man of the hour, making a ton of plays these last couple of days, but not the most successful day for them today. As I say day way too many times in one sentence.
Man, look how much capture isn't happening when there isn't a Nanara on the board.
It's impressive how much they've been actually avoiding the point overall, but now Watkins, William355 going to get aggressive on there. A nice plug going to be able to keep some control, but the shell shield going to come up and everyone's going to retreat. Big Egos are playing very carefully, very cautiously as they try to approach and figure out how to crack this shell that is the point.
I don't know if we're playing Paladins or the point is lava at this point, actually.
Both.
But, I mean, Ejim's trying to make some pressure here. Willow already has Fayflight charge. Cassie has Scout available. CC Immunity might come on through, but she's down already. Ying has Illusory Rift, and here it goes. Sanguine Esports trying to take control, but look at this immediately in response.
Niu going to be hovering around in the air as of right now. Kresnik going to step out, and unfortunately, he's going to be under the ire that is the damage coming down from a Flying Willow, but it all immediately dissipates.
All the Fayflight wastes, right? You jump out to one side, you're trying to escape the rockets, you get out of line of sight, and then you pop Fayflight, and then you wait for a heal, and that gives Sanguine Esports the chance just to regroup, come back into it, and chip down this Makoa. They take down everybody. Big Egos crumble, and God, this is just an experience thing. This is just like, we don't have ultimate control.
Let me put you in the shoes of Maldamba. And you dash away from the point. It looks like it's perfectly clear. He's a snake. It doesn't matter.
Right.
So he dashes forward.
Yes.
You feel safe. You're immune for your dash. You get out of the door, and then you look up, and there is just an heirloom rifle literally pointed at your skull. And you are one shot away from death.
Gotta ring the bell. Gotta ring the bell, folks. That's how it goes. And Big Ego's being forced back a lot already as El Zulu takes the front line for Sanguine Esports. I mean, after Big Ego's performance, we didn't think we'd see maybe Sanguine being quite so dominant like this. We thought maybe it'll be a little bit closer, Gore, but honestly, this just seems like as Ancient Rage gets shut down, shout out to Big Game. Big Ego's lack of ultimate discipline is what this seems like right so far. If that Fayflight hadn't been used there, if the Willow had dropped down to the low ground, gotten healed up anyway, then used the Fayflight, maybe she would have gotten more than 3 shots off onto somebody that was relevant.
Now being able to get at least a little bit of pressure pushed back on to Sanguine, it's going to be throwing them away, but honestly, it's not that bad for them. Again, a minute, 40 seconds there, 75%, give or take a couple percentage there on the push. Losing members right here, staggered out, is going to be rough. But you get to spend those nice 300 credits from that capture that you earned earlier. And how important are mid-round buys?
Mid-round buys can be super important when you're at a cauterized deficit. So Sanguine Esports right now, they're coming back in with Kresnik sitting on a morale boost and a cauterized too. That's a lot of credits what they had in their pocket. And Zulu's already got the Master Riding online after getting that Rejuvenate too. So they're really making use of this early game Ying right now. Envy, I think, might actually be yet to die. Look at that, 1,000 credits in pocket. Hasn't made a mid-round buy. Scout does come on through. Big Egos, they're trying to hold here, but the ultimate's being popped by Sanguine left and right.
Illusory Rift has been popped out. Hell Zulu going to do his best to stand right here, and Immortal's going to get come through, but Envy is gone. Bagel Wow does return the kill onto William355, and Watkins is incredibly low, but there's no pressure out from the rest of the team to be able to alleviate what Ejim is applying to Sanguine right now, and the kills are flowing through left and right, but it's all for the red team. Big Egos here going to be able to find a nice stall.
that was lucky at that point. It felt like Sanguine were going to hit the gas pedal. They got a couple of early kills. The Immortal looked like it might be able to hold, but just Ancient Rage is enough right there, Gore. I mean, that's the power of Makoa. You don't challenge him. At least not up close.
At least managed to get rid of the Hexafire and a Dread Serpent as well. So there's a lot that has been taken away from Big Egos, and with 20 seconds left, I mean, Bright Marsh is a small map. You're back in here. You're going for it. Overtime is something that is feasible on this map. You can feel it. It's tangible if you can get this pressure. Zulu coming around the final corner, potentially looking for some pressure, but Edgem right now is where all the pressure is. He kills off Envy again, and now as they're taking into overtime, they're going to lose Kresnik.
That means a double kill, looking for the triple. Hello, Ying. There's one big old headshot. Getting the kill right there at the end as well, if that headshot does ring the bell. And Edgem's and Drox's performance has been a bit of a saving grace for Big Ego so far. You know, after seeing Willow fall somewhat flat in that last capture objective, it's these flanks, it's these clutch picks which keep on coming through, which have been so important, but this was an important moment from Sanguine. Bagel finding the Enlightenment kill into Niu, and then getting the shutdown onto Watkins. Beautiful commander's grab to set that up as well.
Bagel was wowing the opposition throughout that entire time.
Aligning the
but
bagels.
It did start to fall off later on. You can see 4, 2, and 6. I think a lot of that 4 was towards the beginning of the round as it started to fall off. Jalen Sanity as well has had a huge impact, but only in terms of healing. Does have the morale boost 3, which is typically where we start seeing Ying blow things up, at least in terms of healing. 60% charges on that, but you can expect to see that hit 100 relatively soon.
Well, Gore, one of the big things about morale boost 3 for Ying is it feels like it's not making Ying more relevant, right? Because the ultimate still does what the ultimate does anyway. As the Cursed Arm comes through, what it does is just means that you get to stay relevant more late game once Cauterize comes online, but that doesn't seem to be necessary as all. Sanguine Esports are being corralled away because of the incoming threat right here from Big Egos.
A kill very early on, but Envy actually does manage to live through all of that. Finally goes down, but gets the kill on Edgem before he does, which opens up a lot more room for his team to get aggressive. Kresnik is back in action. Bagel getting as aggressive as he can, but he was hooked out of where he wanted to be and brought into where Big Egos wanted to take him down. But the point fight still going a little bit more in favor of Sanguine, 15-15. Now they're starting to get pushed out.
Oh, Khan's in a lot of trouble. You can see Edgem just flanking from behind, but what a heal comes on through from Life Exchange Ying there as well as the Battle Shout Gore. That's about 1800 health immediately there, topping Kresnik off, who rejoins the fight. Envy goes down. That might be the saving grace for Big Egos. They've got point control right now, and Edgem is respawning. Can William find a big flank with Hexafire here, maybe? Or will Khan get the better end of this trade?
I mean, trying to do the fight, it's 800 health versus what looked like 800 health, but Maldama going to come through. El Zulu is actually the one who ends up going down, as well as your Leon Bagel. Not going to be available for the fight for a little while longer. 99%, 100. Big Egos are going to be able to take this one back in favor of them.
I just don't know what happened to Sanguine that round. They did the thing, and it didn't work, and then they just crumbled, Gore. They looked like a cookie that had been left out too long in the sun. And they still have the Scout available that's being charged throughout the duration of the round. But where was the Immortal at any point to, save a member? They were playing so split up that they couldn't really make use of that ultimate at all. Lack of cohesion from Sanguine Esports put them in a bad situation, and now Big Egos, they can try and look for conversion here. They've used the Fade Flight recently, and this is the big momentum swing that we're talking about with Overpower being able to pull off at some point, right? You go ahead, you pull somebody early, you can charge before the next round, but you just take the wind out of the attacking team's sails.
All right, Envy, just because that last combo was so solid, I'm going to forget about the fact that you missed a lot of shots on the overpowered Makoa. That Khan was very slowly walking forward.
Might have been a hitbox issue there, Gore, as well, so just making sure they threw him out as well, just getting that extra damage. One thing that a lot of players forget about with Khan's overpower is that when you throw an enemy, it actually deals damage, right? It deals damage to the person you throw and anybody that they collide with. You can see them kind of throw and split people like pins. We've seen that on Frog Island top 5 plays, when somebody's got sent off the map.
All right, new mini game in Paladins, Bowling with Makoa, where you literally use Makoa to bowl as many people as you can. Send in your best to top 5 plays. Vox will be able to sort through all of those bowling plays.
I love seeing those. I'm so ready for it. But right now, I mean, Big Egos, they're just looking for a payload push, right? They're getting it a little bit forwards up to this environmental cover when they lost a little bit of pressure with all the deaths that came through. Edgem has fallen against. They're waiting for the respawn. They're looking to break the base. They've got 57 seconds to do so. The big priority pick that I want to see them take down right now is going to be this Leon. Bagelwow's had such a big impact so far. When, we've seen Sanguine Esports come out on top, you remove that hit scan pressure, and then Willow can just have her way with the battlefield.
I mean, as of right now, Edgem has been able to take down Bagel every single time. He's in a perfect position. He's the one earlier who had said that it was going to be an easy clap against SSG.
Here we go.
And they were the ones who got clapped. Now they're starting to get a little bit more aggressive, but that's going to be the Illusory Rift on the other side, keeping the healing up as best they can, but Envy still goes down. The Heaven Daxes is not going to be enough. Watkins is just running through members left and right. Edgem finds 2 right there. Ying, the only one left alive, and she's He's not your defender.
I'm going to throw this out there, Gore. I mean, that was Sanguine Esports playing themselves, right? They pop the Illusory Rift. They say, oh no, we're being pressured. So they use that. And then the Immortal gets popped as well to make sure that healing is effective. Everybody stays alive. Everybody groups up around a Fernando, and that is shooting fish in a barrel for Ying, who goes, oh, Dead Zone now, instead of dealing 800 damage, is dealing, maybe 2,000 if it hits 4 players at once, right? It's a ridiculous amount of burst potential. It's a lot of anti-heal spread, and that is just Big Egos taking advantage of a good situation. News on a 23 streak on the Ferry right now, on Willow of the Summer Court, Gore. 100,000 damage on the damage chart. This is such a difficult thing for Sanguine Esports. And going back to the draft, early prioritization of Maldamba, so Sanguine Esports take Ying. Big Egos also draft the counter in Willow.
9-1 as of right now, a full wrecker. Morale boost just to boot as well, being able to come through, making sure that everything's going to be coming online. He's going to pop the Fate Flight and go up into the air, and right now Sanguine, very much like last round, are corralled in this. This is not how this matchup ever went online, so it seems like Big Egos have definitely learned a lot, and they feel the pressure with their backs against the wall.
And here we go, looking to maybe control some high ground initially. Niu drops down just to turn that 23 into a 24 streak, and Sanguine Esports, they can't make their way out of this little area right now. Watkins finds 2, William 355 with another. This is just setting up perfect damage for Willow, Gore.
50% already on the point. They get all of the kills. They're going for the dismounts. It's going to be a slow walk back for Sanguine if they're even able to get there. The fight's coming through. Overpower's been popped. Jalen is the one who takes out Niu of all people.
Hexafire.
And they're going to get aggressive, but Hexafire right into the face. Zulu's gone. You have one con. Can he pull it off? And it's just too late.
Gore, I mean, what are we even looking at right here? This is the opposite of what we saw this PGS matches online go with, if I'm not mistaken, it was Big Egos actually taking the game number 1 there. 4-1 in that scoreline, just looking really good.
I mean, a lot of control coming out for them. Sanguine, unfortunately, not feeling anywhere near. I mean, even at the beginning of the game, it looked a lot better, and it just teetered out. The second round, they get caught off in guard. They were locked in that room, right? And then they just repeat it for the third round. What do you think they need to change up? I mean, what was going wrong for them?
Don't stack in front of the Willow, Gore. You don't stack in front of the Willow at all. You just want to make sure that you spread out, right? Dead Zone is super effective when it can hit multiple people at once because it's that anti-heal threat as well as the burst. It's a big problem. And Sanguine, they said, well, you know what? Let's group up. Let's make sure we're close to the Ying. Let's make sure we're close to the Fernando. And let's play as a unit when really they needed to have a bit more split pressure and not be so vulnerable to all those big AoE projectiles.
Well, Willow was definitely the biggest threat there. Niu had a phenomenal game, but let's go to the desk to break down how everything ended up happening at that game 1.
It was a good start for Sanguine, and then Big Egos, man, they come out of nowhere, and they just rock the house. Talk to me about that huge win.
I mean, I will be the first to say that I was kind of wrong in my speculation of, oh, this prepared team, this other team coming off a loss here. You get the comfort picks, which is a big part of it. The Willow looked really good despite the loss against SSG. Edgem, it's Andrew. That's absolutely almost 100% of the time what he would want to be on. Both those guys have really big games. They look very warmed up. They looked very comfortable, not discouraged in the slightest.
You know, happy birthday indeed for Gormizer. Did a great job on the cast there, but he's covered these guys a lot, and he said this is not the way it typically goes in the PGS, and that's interesting too because now you're fighting not only the dynamic of we should have one, but we have one, and we're the same squad. So what's different? Are we nervous? Are we not executing? And you start to question yourself a little bit.
That's where it gets rough, especially in this best of 3. Hesitation, questioning yourself cannot happen moving forward. 9-2 for Niju on the Willow, 12-6 for Edgem on the Androxus. Almost, and it's not even just the PGS teams, like these highly respected international teams.
Yeah.
Everyone has been taking Andro away from Edgem, and I think as Sanguine, maybe because they play them so much, maybe that's why they're just like, all right, we know what he's going to do, that yada, 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 but he still did the damn thing. And I think at that point, you maybe got to get Big Egos in a spot where they're a little bit less comfortable.
Yeah, and I think Niu, the big thing for me is the 18 assists as well. Edgem getting those 12 killing blows, but having the ability to have 25 deaths that he contributed to, and
that's a lot.
Those are dead zones of well being applied. I mean, those are meaningful deaths. So it's just a really, really great start. I saw this draft and I said, man, there's not a draft that I think would fit these players better. And your MVP, the Steel Series MVP, is Edgem. Despite Niu's performance, he really was phenomenal in applying pressure.
Setting up those kills is important. Driving them home is also very, very important. Androxus, very flashy. Edgem narrowly misses a punch there. But that is actually, that's a ton of assists for a game that kind of went this quick. This was not, the longest game that we have seen this tournament by any means. Edgem hopefully can flex onto something else because I highly doubt they will be getting the Androxus 2 games in a row in a best of 3.
That would be surprising, wouldn't it? But I've seen things that have surprised me more in Paladins.
Yeah, I guess so.
Decisions that have said, "Wow, you're really going to let that go through." And I think it is okay to let the Andro. If it's the Andro, then you have to pair it with like a Talus, or you have to pair it with like something that's more of a secondary priority. You give a first priority Andro to a first priority and to a first priority player. And you have a first priority Willow to a first priority player. Those are the 2 players they need to go off, Niu and Edgem. And you give them both their favorite champions who are both very good in this meta. That can't happen. You got to cut the cut the mustard somewhere, Nick.
Cut the mustard somewhere.
Doesn't
Get it
apply,
out of my
but
face.
gosh, had to say cut the mustard.
That's a great saying. And, Ruckus certainly wasn't bad for William either. One thing that I'm definitely looking at, if I am Big Egos, is obviously trying to keep this comfort rolling, trying to keep my guys in a spot where they can succeed.
Yeah.
But when you're looking at Edgem on that Androxus, it almost, and you said Talus, which kind of made me think of what happened in that SSG set. We've seen Talus just kind of struggle this event. When you have a guy like Niu who's on like this 27 streak or whatever it was, commanding so much attention on the battlefield, it makes it easier for everyone else to do their job too. So Edgem has so much space to work with because everyone is looking at this damn pink fairy just obliterating everyone.
I thought you were going to say they're all looking at Jake's pants.
Well,
I mean, those are into the AM. You know all about that, buddy. Nick's repping Sparkly and...
I own about everything.
I own about everything from the company. It's a
One
good
of it
company.
all.
Make good shirts. They actually make some Smite blankets and...
Yeah, I have a Kefri blanket.
Yeah.
It's a big hug bug.
Shout-outs to Into the AM and Sanguine repping that. However, they've got their clothing down. They look good. They now have to figure out what to do against Big Egos because...
Ask and you shall receive, brother.
Ask and you shall receive. Those are actually really cool sweatpants.
They are.
Like, imagine, holidays, you're hanging at home, fire,
Yeah.
little,
And just
apple cider.
And the plain black on top. This guy did not go for the Anatoly, where he tries to match something equal and opposite. I get it, balance in the universe and all things, but this man he's wearing it correctly.
The balance of power, for sure. And it has shifted a little bit to Big Egos here. Now able to send Sanguine home. One more win. I told you. I mean, I've seen things. I've seen crazier things happen. Androxus will go to Edgem yet again, but this time I like it. Sanguine do cut the mustard. I know I'm using it incorrectly, but I think it's really funny to keep using it that way. And they grab the Willow. And I think this is good. Now Niu has to be on something like a Cassie.
Yeah.
Something that's not as familiar.
Yeah, they got half of their problems
dangerous to say
solved here, getting the Willow away from Big Egos. But a strong front line here for just the amount of pressure. I think this is really good. I was about to say it. Getting the Ying here is going to be very important because Makoa and Fernando are going to be very aggressive front lines. They're going to be looking to get up in the faces of this back line. If you allowed a illusory rift to come out in a team fight where you're being attacked on all fronts by every champion on the roster, I just don't see a way out of it intact.
Victor taken. I really like this pick. They actually were able to watch the game that Armada played, and the Victor was very, very successful for Ineffable. So now Leon taken. This is something that actually now could go either way. I actually wouldn't be surprised to see Niu on Andro and actually Edgem on the Leon here. That wouldn't surprise me at all.
And a lot of teams are having to figure that out because there has not been this much double hit scan in an event in a very long time, if ever, to the degree that we are seeing it in this PWC qualifying event. The problem that I'm seeing with Sanguine's draft at the moment is that it is very like Ying, Willow, Victor, we're sitting here, we're doing our thing from the back line. There's not a lot that can just stop it unless it's a good seismic crash from Inara. There's not a lot that is going to stop Makoa, Fernando, and Droxus from attacking from different angles. Maybe Maldamba providing a good Dread Serpent. All of this clumping that I think might be happening is dangerous, especially when you're looking across the way at a Maldamba.
I think what's interesting too is that Big Egos may have gotten away with something here. I don't feel like there's a lot of shielding that would really hurt the hit scan from applying pressure consistently. And I'm worried that they won't be able to shut down, despite the AoE pressure not being there, the Androxus and the Leon on the side of Big Egos. Are they going through, or is Sanguine battling back for a best of 3? Let's send it here, Casters, Gore, and Vox to take it away.
Will Sanguine, former Team Buh, be able to come back and showcase what they were all about during the online splits, or is it going to be Big Ego? I mean, right now, Who are you feeling out of the two of them based on draft?
Big egos right now, and I think we're starting to see why they're banning so much Ashe. It's because Ashe has a bit of counterplay to some of those flank picks that they really are enjoying, and this is really coming into effect, Gore. It's these flanks which are really starting to decide the fights for him, and look at that. Big fireball to start things off on Stone Keep. Sanguine Esports could take an early spill here, but a great dead zone does stop Big Egos in their tracks.
William 355 forced to fall back. 1,500 health is not a comfortable spot to be fighting. High ground is going to be so important for Sanguine because of this Willow, and this is the balcony she wants to live on. That kind of bounce with your seedling, as well as this angle is just so perfect for you. You can find it. Turns looking for the shots, but that's going to be Edgem taking him out of the air.
Still, Envy, Kresnik, they've found 3 already, and it's forced all of Big Egos back. Edgem's just resetting at this point. I mean, you don't really have much chance of killing the Inara. You want to regroup. Surprisingly, a composition with Inara in it hasn't already got 80% on the objective, Gore. It is only 30% and rising right now, giving Big Egos the chance to come back in. They're looking for a big flank. Watch that right-hand side. Fernando coming around the back is looking for somebody, has been spotted and dismounted now, and Niu is missing quite a few shots on this Lian. That's something which I think we might have actually seen a little bit of in a previous game, you know, is like sometimes these Lians just crumble under pressure and they can't thread the needle like Freeze God does.
Well, Envy right now is going to be cleaning up whatever he can. Barrage is ready, and Barrage is dropped. William 355 is going to be taking the brunt of the damage, and that's going to be a kill. 99% clean as it's turning into 100. Shortly, Edgem going to be able to throw himself onto the point and actually find the kill onto Zulu.
Oh,
it's taking a little bit too much.
Overtime.
And that, no, it's not going to be the
Edgem
kill. Edgem
two.
comes down and finds Envy. Is going to be able to keep the pressure, keep his team into it. That 99% means nothing for Sanguine anymore as Big Ego come back in. Even though they only have 2 members alive right now, they hold on to the point.
Hello, Edgem. Pick up the phone. It's ringing. It's your kill feed. Everything is blue for Big Egos right there. And Kresnik now is able to force out William 355 a little bit. Here comes Maldamba Heal. T-Mac taking some damage. 99% on the objective. Oh, and Nara gets back on there. And what a beautiful impasse score.
Just being able to walk up, wall off, and take the point like it's nothing. Edgem still looking to find some kills onto Envy in the backline, but a lot of trades and not really going in favor of Big Egos. Red is what's going to be filling the kill feed this time around. Sanguine feeling a lot more comfortable this time around than Brightmarsh did.
Gore, let's talk about execution, the threshold, right? Because Edgem's doing all these crazy dashes, getting these kills, resets, going up, down, everywhere. And Nara walks in and goes, I have a wall. You can't get on the objective now.
Are you saying that Androxus is a harder champion to play than Inara?
You know what? I would say that Androxus has... Yes.
Yeah, I'd agree with you 100%. I just wanted to make sure you
I think that
it.
Androxus is harder to play to like an adequate degree than Inara, but there's still a lot of min-maxing which Inaras can do, right? It's hard to say that this champion is easy compared to one of the other. But Edgem going for a little bit of overkill right there. Finds the Willow.
He's dead, Jim.
Doesn't just find the Willow, finds them, buries them, puts them 6 feet under, marks their grave with an X, rolls at the map, puts it into a bottle, and sends it off the edge of Stone Keep, saying, treasure map, find it if you dare. And with 1 minute and 20 seconds left on the clock, this is one of the beautiful things about having this double hit scan pressure from Big Egos. They can dismount super early, they can hold slightly more aggressively than we see a lot of compositions hold on this Stone Keep map.
Fireball flying just over the head of Bagel Wow there. Just making sure the pressure is on again. Dismounts are going to be big, but Willow's making it through so far undismounted. Still mounted up and going to be able to come around, and this puts you in a good pressure. A nice ceiling going around the corner, going to be able to get a dead zone right there. But you know this is where frontlines like to hang out, but it's just not going to connect. A lot of that damage goes nowhere.
Gore, it's not what you want a Willow to be. That's the thing. Willow likes being up on high and shooting down, and this is a Willow shooting pretty much adjacent to them. You can see that it's just not as much effective damage, and recognizing this, Niu goes, why are we not going in? Why are we not chasing the Willow? Bit of an overextension coming through here. Could just dump the Enlightenment coming through, but how do you lose that one? Niu gets baited in completely and somehow stays alive. Emotes, the bell rings with Ruckus, the shield comes on through. This is insult to injury from Big Egos right now.
That was being to the maximum level. Not only Niu being able to pop the emote, but living through the emote.
And the thumbs down.
Not even caring. Is the thumbs down, which is pretty much how this round looks like it's going to go. Nice shots coming down from him. Not going to be able to find the kill. Edgem does clean it up, though, and this is going to be the pressure. Leon now getting aggressive. Envy forced to run away, but in an awkward spot right now. Neo goes down, maybe bites off more than he can chew.
I don't like the Enlightenment there. You're dead at that point. Again, he's dead, Jim. There's no point in popping that ultimate, and at this point, with the AoE splash around the corner, Sanguine Esports did have a chance to really turn that into something. The damage is still there for Big Egos, but you have kind of just wasted an ultimate at that point, which I really dislike. I think that Leon should have held the trigger on that. And here we're seeing a couple of little things, right, which demonstrate some of the lack of discipline that big egos have. We know that when we gave them the interview, they said they're very impulsive. They see if we have an opportunity, we're going to take it. But there was no opportunity there. Who are you going to kill as that Leon? Anyway, this is the edge in play.
When he comes in, this is going to be when he finally picks up that kill. This is single-handedly essentially saving the point. It's the drop down as well, making sure you're in the right area. We actually got to see a case of just outside the circle earlier when SSG were playing up against Big Egos. Those moments of not being on the objective, even at 99%, like, it is such a high risk.
Andrew 12-4, by the way, and one of the things that was really important about Edgem's re-engage was Victor was in the middle of reloading. That would have gone completely different if Victor just had a few shots left in the chamber, but no opportunity to fire back. Free kill. Edgem now playing with that good old spooky hood right there for Androx. Is looking for a flank opportunity. Just goes, okay, well, you know what? I've been spotted out. Let me traverse the map. Let me just draw people's attention, draw some fire. Ruckus gets drawn in by the Dredge anchor. Oh, this could be very bad.
Kresnik goes down. Bagelwald does get rid of Edgem, but again, the pressure is on. Sanguine have been able to get a lot of pressure onto the point. Ancient Rage is going to be popped. Barrage not going to be connecting enough, and Envy is going to end up going down. Leaves a grenade in his place, but it's not going to be enough to find anything.
That was Niu flanking on Leon behind the enemy Victor. This is just some serious strats coming out right now, but Bagelwald does find two. That's really important. The Willow still being alive is a critical part of this plan. Puts some pressure on the Fernando. Nice dash juice as well, just to keep the shield facing the direction that you need, but Bagelwald right now is the player to shut down if you are Big Egos, because Sanguine Esports, they've taken full control. Looks like they're going to take the objective.
Going to be able to get a good trade right there. Edgem does go down. Niu is able to take out Bagelwald. They're going to be throwing bodies at the point, but again, last time it was enough to be able to stall it out a little longer. This time it does feel just like what it is, throwing people there just for the sake of throwing it there to show you had the effort. But unfortunately, you're still going to lose the point right now. Sanguine going to be sitting up 600 credits in comparison to Big Egos per player. And I'm wondering if that's going to start playing a bigger role in these items and the way that they're playing.
It might well do. Look at this. Bagelwald's getting the Rejuvenate online. Elzulu's getting the Rejuvenate online. Both of those could be maxed out in the next mid-round buy. I expect Bagelwald to go into a Wrecker 3. That's kind of what we expect normally from them. Just make sure that you can break down these shields a little bit more easily, and that is super valuable. But also, Cauterized 3s are about to come on through. Gore, you're playing into a Willow, a Victor with Cauterized 3, a Ruckus with Cauterized 3. Big Egos are going to get no healing done. They've got to rely on damage and burst potential alone to get kills at this point in teamfights.
Envy has been in such an awkward area where I feel like Victor is normally going to be top of the damage charts because of this grenade right there, being able to hit two people. Nice reset on it as well. But then you have to get aggressive. You have to figure out, how do I close this out? A barrage actually going to be coming out, but it's not going to find anything.
Good saving heal from Team Mac right there. Maybe a bit of Swift Spirits allows Makoa just to shell spin away, get out of the area of that barrage, and also not take a spill very early on. So Big Egos do manage to hold a little bit. Edgem's been under such intense focus though throughout the entirety of this push and the last round that Big Egos have just been straight up 4v5 for most of it, and that should result in a conversion here. Leon tries to slide in, but Gore, it's too little too late, and you can see what this focus onto Androxus is really doing for the squad at Sanguine.
You know when you start laughing that hard after a round, and especially when your opponents look like that, Sanguine's starting to feel a certain way, and they're feeling a lot better. Again, things might have slipped out of their hands, but we mentioned it at the very beginning. It's been mentioned on the desk. It was mentioned by the players, the coach. They play against these guys all the time. Losing a point to them, losing a map to them, that's not unheard of for them. It is keeping your head in those moments that will bring it forward, and having plays like that is the cleanest way to get it. 2 kills right there for Kresnik. Actually, a triple kill as he picks up that tail one.
Hexafire, by the way, getting like one of those kills as well. Just big zoning ult. And that's part of what Ruckus really brings to the battlefield, right? It's just, if Hexafire is active, unless you've got an Immortal or a big shield or a Reversal, you don't want to go anywhere near that thing.
Full Cauterized 3 for Envy and Kresnik, both having a Rejuvenate 2 as well. Morale boost is online for Jalen Sanity.
I love the Rejuvenates on Sanguine, though. They're really recognizing the fact that we've got the utility advantage right here. We have more healing and more anti-heal, so let's just increase that gap exponentially, right? So Cauterized 3, that 90% anti-heal, is going to be reduced to just 60% from Big Egos right now. That's such a critical stat.
A big old flank did come through from Big Egos, but it's not going to be able to find too much. Niu finally getting rid of Bagel, while Watkins going to be getting aggressive as best he can to try and deal the damage. Hexafire available, but goes down. Sanguine, though, were able to attain 54% in the process. That triple kill for Edgem is just a cherry on top of a very delicious sundae that is Big Egos being able to come through. But Sanguine kind of equalized the playing field. 54% picked up for them. but I don't know if they're even going to be able to make it back. The zoning is just looking like it's going to be too good.
Well, one of the advantages that you have to zoning when you do have a Makoa on your team is Dredge Anchor, but I mean, Big Eagles just kind of dropped the ball there, and Nara gets all the way on through, and they just let Willow go up to the skies, and there's nobody pressuring out really anybody that you need to right now. Edgem goes up, looks for the reload, Bagel Wow is there, good flutter, but even better reversal, mitigates a lot of that damage, and now it is just a lot of Big Egos bearing down on this Inara. One punch, not two punch, William 355 gets a double kill there, and overtime is ticking, Gore.
William 355 being able to find a lot. They pick up the point 2-3 as Big Egos are potentially able to tie up the game if they find this push. Immediately getting aggressive, looking for the zone to get about 50% of the push done without any contest from Sanguine. What does Sanguine have to do? I mean, they've been playing aggressive the entire game. Now things are going to start falling back. Where does the pressure need to be applied? So
it's really difficult, right? Because you're holding this Stone Keep map. You've got a Ruckus on the high ground. One of the big things that we see often is like a Fernando or an Ash, or maybe sometimes even an Inara up on the high ground. And what that allows you to do is protect your damage carries, which want to stay up on this high ground and really control this space. But with just a Ruckus there, you've got damage and that's it. No way to protect your allies. And you can already see the Big Egos, they've invested a Dread Serpent. They're looking for a way to break the base. And here comes the Accursed Arm.
Going to be able to find the shots. Not able to lock down Envy, though. Bagel Wow is gone for a moment. But again, respawn proximity is the big thing. Sanguine will be able to walk out right onto the high ground here and have vision of the payload. But a lot of pressure is on and being applied. William 355 on the side, making sure everyone is paying attention
who's
to him.
Contesting? Nobody. Watkins is down there right now. Big Ego's trying to slide this one through. And at last, somebody does go down. It's the Ruckus. Envy takes out Watkins. Edgem, though, finds Jalen Sanity. No more sustained
Where
the
are
side
you
of
looking?
Sanguine. What are you doing? There's somebody behind you. It's an Androxus, and they're saying, have a high five, Gore.
That was genuinely a movie scene of someone getting executed like that.
Behind you.
Victor might as well have been on his knees, hands behind his head, because that was just headshot lining up the entire time.
It's funny, Gore, because we're looking at Androxus wearing this kind of horror movie inspired mask, right? And it really is that kind of there behind you. You're not turning around. There, but look behind you, and they're just sitting there holding their defiant fist, ready and waiting. That should have been with the respawn proximity advantage, as you were talking about, with Niu almost going down and getting healed at the last second. That should have been the defense for Sanguine.
Walks over there.
But nobody contests as well, and this is a really big thing. You know, Watkins always walks that payload through as Makoa for free. Nobody contests, and then it's panic stations for Sanguine. And just like that, Big Egos, they invest a couple of ultimates in there, but they still have the Immortal, they still have the Ancient Rage. They've come back into this, and they do need those to go toe-to-toe with Sanguine, who have 4 out of 5. Now make that 5 out of 5 in the ult economy, Gore.
20-8, this Androxus. Edgem has been the playmaker, looking for the kill on the Bagel immediately, but he's going to be taken down to half health. Will actually watches Envy drops in front of him. A nice hook coming through, forcing the pressure out. Sanguine, even though they have 39%, is not feeling confident at all right now. Bagel Wow getting aggressive, but Ancient Rage does not care about your damage, and you have been taken down. That's a double kill for the Androxus.
I mean, what are you trying to do right there? You're following an Ancient Rage Makoa as Willow. When you know that there's an Androxus behind your team somewhere, Sanguine Esports have a lack of target focus right now, but Big Egos, they have laser sights on exactly who they need to do. They've got Edgem providing distraction value. They've got Zone coming through, 51% and rising for Big Egos right now. Dread Serpent, Gore, it's at the ready.
Sanguine potentially going down and eliminated if they lose this game. 81% and rising right now. Zulu doing whatever he can to get back to the point, but he has no health available, no Hexafire available. Edgem picking up another kill. Watkins doing whatever he can, locking him down, but he does go down. Sanguine fighting for their life, whatever they can to try and control the point.
Gore, this is a desperation play right now. Big Egos are in full control. The ultimates all came out so staggered. Envy is still throwing the frag grenades. I mean, that's a little bit of punishment right there. Can El Zulu touch? And they can, they will. The emotes slightly too early. Here comes the Earthen Guard, and they are sustaining, but where are the rest of Sanguine Esports? I don't know if they're going to be here in time.
Locked down, hooked, burned away, and now the last coming through, but Kresnik almost going to be able to touch. The dash, not enough to get there, and Sanguine goes down. The claps come through as Big Egos, number 2, take down Sanguine, number 1 from the North American PGS, and they send them home.
Gore, now you got to see why they're called Big Egos, right? It's all about that spray, it's all about the emote, it's all about the BM right there, and you know, this is, again, 2 teams that have faced each other time and time again, and to find a defeat like that, I got to give props to Big Egos, especially Edgem, for their phenomenal Androxus performance this game, and so much the kind of tag team effort right there, but again, this game seems to be just Sanguine at the end there. They lost something. They didn't have the focus. Maybe it was communication. Maybe they were missing something else, and just something set them off right there, but they weren't the same team that we saw in the first 2 capture objectives, despite having so much of an advantage in items, in just the Ying, which we've got to... Ying is just a consumable factor at this point. They're a stat value, and they let it go.
Well, that is going to be the end of the road for Sanguine. Big Egos taking the surprise, I want to say, out of that one. Well, let's go to the desk to break down how this set ended up and what exactly they see going forward.
Where are you looking? That was the line of the set, maybe the line of the tournament thus far from Gormizer. The passion that outflowed. I thought I was looking at a young cuss cutie just yelling that across, standing up and just yelling at his opponents. And I think it was Spunky at that time. From the famous
the WASD days.
"What are you doing?" chant that went down. It was a lot of fun, but a really fun set. Big Egos, wow, kind of pulled the upset there.
Absolutely. I think, where are you looking is a good way to put it, because there was a lot of successful flanks for Edgeman. Patience there. You saw him in that final round. He kind of sat on his horse there for almost the first opening 30 seconds to a minute there.
Yeah.
And then his flank didn't go back, and he went further into the enemy back line to get even farther out of the way. And it's just out of sight, out of mind type of thinking. He comes in to have a very big impact on that fight.
This is an interesting one because obviously we're saying goodbye to Sanguine, who have worked so hard to be here, who are in Vegas with us, who have added Niu to the roster after, actually no, Niu was actually taking Niu away from the roster, and that's an interesting little kind of dynamic there, that Niu was with them in Vegas in that run and now has beaten them, has put them back home while he continues on. And this is the losers bracket, so unfortunately for Big Egos, they are not safe at all. They still have to keep winning or go home. Top 4 is the only way they are safe to make it to HRX. And the stats here, they don't lie. It was a well-deserved win from Big Egos.
That's great. 25-9 with, I believe I saw 89,000 player damage. That's like not that much player damage. That is effective killing, though. He's getting into the back line, assassinating a target, and then he is gone without a trace there. That's really good matchups, though. Victor, Willow, I mean, those are easy things for him to collapse on. I don't really fault Envy for not looking at him per se, because Envy was, he had plenty on his plate to deal with there. He got 2 kills that was keeping Sanguine in the round, period. But Edgem was just able to squeak his way into the back line and make it happen.
I don't think there's a champion in Paladins in the flank role that can be that effective that quickly and have so many options of approach as Androxus. That's why, even though this is like the burst meta and things like that, the ability for him to, at one point, approach from up above you on the right side of the map, then be in the back line, kill the support, reset his dashes, then be on the Cathedral and get the 3rd kill of a triple kill. No other flank can do that.
He snowballs, I think, harder than anyone and can just be more consistent. Super fun to play and just a damn cool-looking champion. You can't take that away from him.
Yeah.
The thing I like about Androxus is that he can be much quieter than the other flanks. You saw what Edgem was doing. He kind of just did this like 45-degree dash up in the air and then just floated in. He just floated to his targets. There's a small sound cue associated with that, but it is absolutely impossible to hear in the chaos of battle.
And I can't confirm that it is the Jaws theme song, but I won't say it's not.
No one's ever heard it, so.
No, I won't say it's not. Okay. Really fun game, though, I think. Yeah. And I think Big Egos have a style that's very energetic. It's very fun. I think they're starting to get some fans here. I know Edgem is definitely pulling some attention. And G2 Esports, the big conversation here is that they were considering bringing Edgem on to their roster, and it ended up being Flame Effects. Not that there was anything wrong with that. They still have a great season. Obviously, Envy just have that run. No one's going to take them down. But it makes you wonder. Makes you wonder.
2 insane Andro players, for sure. I don't think anyone in this tournament at this point is going to let him get that pick, though. I think after this performance, he gets it 2 games in a row. It's too much. You said you've seen crazier things. I think at this point, it's just too much. I mean, because, not to say you can't beat it, but it's just, why would you let him be so comfortable? Why would you let him get his favorite character?
And to their credit, though, of Sanguine, and just to, because they are going home, I think they made a good decision in at least getting the Willow away, and they tried to cut the mustard either. All right, it's tried to basically split the difference, right, so that they can get the damage on their end that's supportive of Bagel Wow doing well. And
Willow was great.
I mean, Bagel Wow, a great performance from him. He really kept them in the game, and he's not a traditional DPS player.
There wasn't any glaring mistake. Honestly, almost if they lost that game after those 3 emotes from William on the objective,
that would have been a story, wouldn't it?
Or from Fernando, I was getting so triggered here. I'm like, would you please just put this game away?
That would have been a story.
I know you're trying to score style points. I know I see what you're trying to do here, but you're freaking me out. I'm sweating a little bit. here on the desk. Niju hit one of those as well. He
That's
had some
right.
really cool jukes in the background, hits his emote, gets his kill there. Style points all around, certainly, for the boy.
How you going to emote in the losers bracket? Come on now. Come on, man. You already lost.
3 failed emotes
you
in a
hitting
row.
emotes
I'm like,
in the losers
just
bracket. It's like,
come on, dude.
you popping off in the consolation game at the World Cup. Like, that's like popping off in the bronze match. You know,
Yeah.
I'm like, come on, man. You guys lost 5-2. Give me a break. We're going to go send it over to Vox and Gore, though, who are standing by with big egos. And this time, was an easy clap.
Congratulations, guys, on your win over Sanguine. I just want to know, I mean, how are you feeling right now? Things were not going so well earlier today, but you've turned it completely around.
After the loss to SSG, we all kind of took a little break and we just started really thinking about it. We went over some stuff that we had already known about Sanguine, and we really just hit the books for probably, I think it was like, the 30 minutes in between the 2 sets. So we really just started thinking about it. We're like, all right, they're going to do this, they're going to do that. They played pretty much the same as they did during online. So it was pretty easy for us to look back in scrim results and past games and to kind of figure out how we're going to draft. And we had some calls that were made, we followed them, and in the end, it just gave us that W.
Yeah, one of the really big things as well is you took a pretty handy approach to game number 1, but on map 2 of Stone Keep, going down 2 points relatively early, 2 captures in a row. What's the process like with just internally of you guys kind of going, okay, it's not over yet, we stabilize. What's it like coming back from the edge there?
We've already done it once before with Renegades the other day. So we already knew the feelings that we were going to be having. So we kind of just took it and we threw it out the window. We're like, we know what we need to do to fix this. And you probably saw it in the second and third round. We knew immediately what they were doing because they did the same exact format. So we just decided this is the play we're going to do, and it worked out both times for us.
So in game number 1, your Willow is able to just wreck face. In game number 2, Edgeum's Androxus. Are you guys feeling really confident? I mean, your next opponent will either be Sour Team or SK Gaming. Do you think either of them are going to pose a big threat?
That's the big ego right there.
That's the big ego, just the solid nope.
Personally, I think the way we're going to have to approach it, they're vastly different playstyles, so we're going to have to do a lot of homework over the next couple hours. They're very different metas and very different players overall. We already know a lot about SK, we scrim them a lot, so we kind of know how to approach that, but if Sour Team takes the win and we have to go against them, we're going to have to do overtime.
Well, once again, congratulations, guys. You do have a couple more games that you have to be able to make it through before you might be able to confirm yourselves for HRX. But as for today, you get to relax and rest on your laurels.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.